What is going on, guys? It is Blink here, back with a new guide. So this guide will be a full gameplay guide, and it's been over a month since I made one. So hopefully you guys do enjoy these types of guides. Also, the V-Bucks giveaway is still going on, so make sure to visit the link in the description to enter. And lastly, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications as opposed to Amazon gift card code in the comments every time I upload. By turning on notifications, you'll have a way better chance of getting here first and redeeming that code. Anyways guys, let's get to this guide. So, it's been a while since I've done a full gameplay guide, and I might start doing them more often again. So hopefully you guys enjoy the full gameplay ones. We are heading to Paradise Palms, and that's probably going to be my only landing spot for the next few weeks. I just love landing here, and it's refreshing. There's quite a few teams that landed here, and unfortunately the first weapon I got was a revolver. This is why you want to search for weapons as you glide in. Now, the reason why I landed where I did was because I know there's usually a chest on the top floor with a weapon. Unfortunately, it was a revolver with no chest, and I got pushed by a player with an AR. I did try to run as I took shots, and only managed to hit one. Sometimes during early game, you get unlucky with your starting weapons, and there's not much you can do. As I said, scanning for good weapons as you fly in is a great method of giving yourself the advantage. Now, fortunately, this player made a run for it and never finished me. I did take his HP down to 46, so he probably backed off because he didn't want to fight my teammate with lowered HP. Thankfully, my teammate got the revive and I was able to get away safely. Now, this is where I mentioned that you want to find at least 2 close range weapons before taking any more fights. So a pump plus another weapon would have been fine. Unfortunately, as I searched for another weapon, my teammate ended up pushing a team, and that's really risky for me with my weapon setup. This is where you have to let your teammate know you don't have the proper weapons to fight yet. My best bet would have been to search for a secondary weapon with my pump to make the fight a little easier. You can see switching between the revolver and the pump never dealt enough damage to down this player. Instead, I got downed, and thankfully my teammate got the elimination on both players. I got rid of that revolver because it's not that great of a weapon to use. If I had a blue one, that would have been a little bit better, but a revolver plus pump combo isn't one you want to use. A solo player came by and got sandwiched by both of us, so it wasn't hard to fight him off. Now, I don't have the greatest setup yet, but I do have an M16, and it's not the greatest with a pump, but it will do. The M16 isn't a good close range weapon. It's got a lot of bloom when you try hip firing it. Still need that extra weapon to combo with my pump. Now, a tip I want to give you guys is, if you're fighting with the same weapon setup I have, you want to shoot your M16 from range first before pushing up to take that pump shot. Because if you push up with the pump first and then pull out the M16, it's going to be pretty hard to hit any shots when you're jumping around hip firing it. Although, the SCAR and the burst rifles are much better close range combos if you do have an AR. So, you guys can see me and my teammate weren't in the best situation, and avoiding everything altogether might be your best bet. We use the jump pad to get to the rifts. This is why I love landing at Paradise Palms. You can use those rifts strategically if needed. Having bounce pads or a jump pad or just building walls as you run towards the rift would be a great strategy to utilize if you've got no health and not the best of weapons. This allowed us to reset and get away from our opponents. Basically gave ourselves another chance at winning the game without having to rejoin another game. I also want to mention that we did use 2 of the rifts separately. Now, that doesn't really matter too much because there was a total of 3. But had there been 2 rifts, you'd want to use both of them because once both have been used, your opponents have 10 seconds to catch up to you to use them, or they disappear. It's a great way of making sure your opponents can't follow you. You guys can see I was able to get some bandages out of the chest, which put me back to 75 HP. It's much better than where I was. Now, the spot that my teammate landed at had players fighting, and I had to go help him out quickly. Unfortunately, he got downed, and I tried taking silent shots as I moved up. The reason I took silent shots was not to allow these players to know where I was as I pushed up. As I pushed up, I can hear players inside the house and above me. I ended up dropping down and waiting for these players to peek me. One of them ended up dropping all the way down, which calmed me off a little. So I instantly made sure to cover myself and went in for the pump shot. Got the down and boxed myself in before eliminating this player. That way I don't get shot at. I needed his meds, and as I eliminated him, I got shot at by his teammate. Made sure to rebuild my wall and place down a staircase for that extra support. Now, I went in for the shot on the second player because it's something he wouldn't expect. Sometimes making aggressive plays will catch your opponents out. Just make sure you're ready to build cover as you're taking shots. Fortunately for me, both players were one hit and made the fight a little easier. Now, after healing up, there was another player that came by and he never knew I was inside the box. So I stayed quiet and waited for the right moment to push. My HP isn't the greatest without minis, and I'm not sure what his HP is like. So if you're in my situation, you want to wait for the right moment to pressure your opponent. Wait until their back is turned, that way you'll be able to get off a few shots before they notice you. This player was too late to notice me and I was able to get the elimination. Now, as I moved up, I can hear another team close by. They never had a clue where I was, so I went for the snipe on the first player to try to get an instant down. If I'm in a 1v2 situation most of the game, I'll usually try to snipe one player, that way it gives me an instant 1v1. Getting really good with the sniper is crucial and it will drastically change how your games will turn out. Alright, so I'll skip all the resource gathering and running. So I hear shots up ahead and once again I tried going for the snipe, that way I fight one less player. Missed the snipe but got an AR finisher. I also tagged up the second player and went for a bounce trap shot because I don't want this player to heal up. Bounce traps are great ways of catching up to players quickly. Now, his teammate tried pushing me and the moment I heard him close by, I opened up my box and placed down a trap. I like doing this pretty often because your opponent will either try to get out and not take any shots or he'll ignore the traps and attempt to eliminate you. Both situations give you a big advantage because in the end, you'll be the one dealing most of the damage. You can see he did get out, but he never took shots because he focused on getting out. The fight was pretty close and the 8 damage pump shot didn't help the situation. Only one of my bullets connected onto this opponent and luckily I did get the elimination in the end. I ended up hearing another player close by, so as I searched for meds, I made sure to build walls around me, that way I don't get hit. As I healed up, this player tried breaking my roof. I then opened up the roof because I thought this player was over top of it. He ended up standing on top of the house and just basically hoped for the best. Unfortunately for him, he didn't build to protect himself and that gave me an easy kill. Now, a tip I want to give you guys about players shooting your roofs. If they aren't directly on top of it, then keep rebuilding it. As you rebuild, they'll get desperate and jump over top of it and try squeezing inside. This will bait them to dropping in and you'll be able to trap it up for an easy elimination. Now, right here I use my campfire because it gets me to full HP. If you have the loot to fully heal yourself, then use it because that extra bit of HP can save you in your next fight. Now, if you've got maybe 80 to 90 HP, I won't use anything because that's a pretty comfortable range. Although at 75 HP, I'll usually try to get myself up to full. So you guys can see that mountain up ahead in the middle of the circle would be a good spot to fort up, right? Well, not really because you don't have the option to avoid fights. Especially in a 1v2 situation, I try avoiding the best spot in the circle because that's most likely where the rest of my opponents are going to try heading. That mountain is also in between 2 more mountains and Pleasant Park, so it's most likely a high traffic area, and I'm not trying to avoid it because I don't want to fight. It's just a smart way of playing out the endgame situation. By roaming around most of the time, I'll be able to choose if I want to engage on players after finding them. Now, in a solo vs solo game, you can set up your fort in the middle of the circle no problem. I spot a player fighting up ahead and I wait until he stopped moving. I had to take the shot quickly because I can get shot in the back pretty easily. I eliminated the down player and tried rifling the last player. And you guys can see I only took a few rifle shots and made sure to keep moving to avoid getting shot in the back. I also jumped after every sniper shot. And the reason I do this is because if I miss my shot, that gives my opponent a chance to shoot back. And when he takes the shot, he's most likely aiming for my head. So by jumping, you'll most likely avoid getting headshotted. It's a super good habit to get into when sniping. Spotted a few more players up ahead and tried going for the snipe. Wasn't able to connect the shot because you can't actually shoot in between trees, which is unfortunate. Now, I instantly built up for that high ground and noticed these players weren't the greatest because they couldn't really build up too well. I ended up dropping down for a surprise shot and never really built up on the second player because he didn't seem like he knew what to do. Got both kills, and you can notice when I built for that high ground, I didn't wait for these players to build up to me. You can kind of tell when someone doesn't seem that good depending on how they react to your building. So, I get shot here by the guys in the porta fort, and I was debating on building, which I should have. You can see me turn my screen towards the porta fort a few times, and when you've got max materials, don't be afraid to use them. That's one mistake I made which almost put me back into the lobby. I ended up getting closer to them, and I made sure I'm building stairs to avoid getting hit. My goal right now is to see if I can knock one out, that way I can push for the 1v1. I don't mind fighting 2 of the last teams, which is why I'm trying to get the knock. Now, if I want to, I can wait until the last 2 teams fight first, although I want to eliminate both teams. You can also see I'm still scanning my surroundings because I don't know where the other team is. You don't want tunnel vision on one team, make sure you're still scanning your surroundings. Now, I wasn't able to get the knock on these players, and what ended up happening was that the other team pushed them. So you want to go for the push because both teams won't only be focusing on you. You'll have chances to get shots in as these teams fight. I jump padded and went to the left side because these players noticed me and stopped fighting. Now, the reason they stopped fighting was because they downed one of the players and the last player from one of the teams was just sitting under the porta fort. Basically, I expected the fight to last a little longer with more pressure from both sides. That way I can land inside the porta fort because they would have been distracted. So right now I'm not in the best position, and when you're getting spammed by a minigun, it's not easy to rebuild fast enough. While fighting miniguns, you want to take shots back with either a sniper or your AR, because your AR is much more accurate than the minigun, so you're guaranteed to do more damage. Now, as fighting the 1v2, and the second player could also have an AR, so my best bet is to maneuver around the cover I have and try going for the snipe on both players. Well guys, that's it for this guide. Let me know if you guys enjoy these full gameplay guides, and I might start incorporating them a little more. Anyways guys, a like and a sub would be greatly appreciated, and I'll see you on the next one.